when we're talking about being on the stage, you have been looking into and researching and getting a better understanding of empathy and compassion in regards to the play zone, which I think is essential in working with patients. And I'm curious what has come up for you, what you...
Great. Yeah, great question. So the empathy and compassion piece has been really highly talked about. And a lot of people, you want to have empathy, and then, no, you don't want to have empathy because empathy leads to burnout, because you feel the other person's suffering, you can get locked in that. And then we practice, we do all these practices to get compassion, right? Like we get into a state, and then we try to think of someone we care about, or those maybe we don't even care about, and we try to connect and have this caring and try to build this compassion, okay? All that is awesome. But what I found in my own real life experience is that in the moment, it's very easy. So the way I'll go back a step. The way I define empathy is that we actually shift our physiology in response to another person's suffering. So we see the strain in their face, or we hear the hurt in their voice, or we feel the suffering and the discomfort in their body. And as we are seeing, hearing, and feeling that, we actually have a physiological shift. And if we entered that interaction in our safe place, even in our play zone, but we really are attuned to the other, we will have this empathic response. We will feel and see and hear what they're experiencing, and that will momentarily shift our physiology into our own version of what they're experiencing. That's what empathy is. And we want to have that, because if we don't actually have a moment of that to be able to experience the suffering of our patient, of our student, of our child, of our spouse, our partner, of our friend, if we don't actually have that experience of empathy, how do we really understand what they're going through? So how do we meet them where they are? I don't think we can. So I think we have to have this empathic response, but what it's actually doing is it's shifting our physiology. Okay, so now we are matching them, we're meeting them, and their physiology knows we're meeting them because it can see and hear and feel just what we were seeing and hearing and feeling. Okay, so that's empathy. The problem is when we're in that empathic state, we are actually now sending those cues back to them, which initially can build trust because, oh, he gets me, she gets me. But that's not helping them recover. It keeps us both sort of locked in that. And so that's where compassion comes into play. Compassion is now you move back from empathy, but now you're back into your safe, grounded, I'm okay. I'm no longer hurting. So that now I can send you cues of support. I can help you I can actually be with you, but help you see more clearly what might need to be your path, right? I can be with you without you now feeling my hurt because I'm not hurting anymore. But that too isn't static, right? So what happens then is if we slow it all down, so now I had an empathic response to your hurt, then I came back to safety. Now you are free to go even further if need be and tap into deeper levels, and you go, or you share something else, and now there's more pain coming at me, and I have another empathic response, and then I come back to compassion, so it becomes this empathy, compassion, toggling back and forth, which to me is very much the same as the play zone. The play zone is not fixed. There are different levels of mobilized energy and then calm. There's giving and receiving, and that's compassion and empathy. It's that same toggling thing. And from the standpoint of a coach or a surgeon or an anesthesiologist or anyone in the healthcare where they're meeting the patient and the patient is suffering, they wouldn't be there if they're not suffering. They're hurting in some way. There's something that they want your help. So if that physician or healthcare provider doesn't have an initial empathic response, it's almost as if they're numb, right? So they have to have this moment of empathy. They have to have this empathic initial response, or the patient doesn't feel subconsciously that they get me. They're numb. I'm just this. But they can't be locked in empathy, because then they can't help the patient, and then they're not performing in the play zone to do their craft, because they're still hurting. And beyond that, when they leave their court, their stage, their work, do they recover back to safety? Do they come back into a place where they have compassion for themselves for what they experienced? Or do they get locked in an empathic threat? Life is really, really suffering bodily response, right?